So you talk about Daniel Jones and transition tag, maybe something compete. Then he mentioned Minnesota Vikings. Felt like from all the conversations I had around the combine, and obviously you're having some similar, not just with Vikings people, but like people around the NFL. The Minnesota Vikings are looking for any quarterback that can layer a football, right? That is basically anybody that can go ahead and get the ball up and down on the other side of a linebacker in play. Kyler in play. Kirk in play. Basically anybody that they think Tua can be in play. Yeah. Geno Smith in play. Aaron Rodgers. No. Anybody that can layer up, Josh McCown, who's their quarterback coach, might be in play. Yeah. Is that what you're hearing as well? They just would like to find somebody, probably a veteran that they already know if they can do it or not, that can put one over the linebacker in front of the safety. That is basically all they're looking for right now. Is that what you're hearing as well?
I think they're looking at a veteran. The guys that I'm looking for, Kyler would be one option. Geno Smith, if the Raiders decide to release him, would be another option. Daniel Jones, very pricey. I don't know if they can get it done, but in a perfect world, that would be a great option for the Vikings. You can bring up all the, but I don't know the list is all that long. But clearly they're going to be adding to that quarterback room here in the next week or two.
Kirk Cousins will be released by the Atlanta Falcons. That whole thing ends after he gets paid $180 million to be their quarterback. Then they draft Michael Penix Jr. at the number 8 overall pick a month and a half later. Now we see a time where Kirk Cousins could potentially go back to the Minnesota Vikings, or maybe to the New York Jets, or to any of these other teams that could potentially need a veteran. We've seen veterans who get their second, third opportunity in places, Kirk Cousins included, have massive success. Look for him to get out there. Derek Carr allegedly was coming out of retirement, told the Saints that, told the world that. There was no movement. Maybe Derek Carr gets another gig. Tua Tagovailoa is going to be moved on from the Miami world. Geno Smith is being looked at potentially for the Minnesota Vikings. Kyler Murray's days in Arizona are over. Remember, they draft the kid from UCLA. Josh Rosen. It does not go well. He's the Rosen one, they say. He does not do really well at all at baseball or at football. No. 1 year later, new staff, new everything. They draft Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray becomes first player ever, athlete ever, to be drafted top 10 in football and in baseball. He then goes on to have an interesting career with Arizona, where during his contract negotiations, something comes out where it's basically like, this guy's playing video games. He's not actually watching film. They say, no, that's not true. You're still talking about one of the greatest athletes to ever exist in Kyler Murray. He'll have a fresh start somewhere. Will that be in Minnesota? Feels like all these veteran quarterbacks, all eyes are on Minnesota. They win 14 games. Okay, with Sam Darnold playing for the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Then they go into what they are. Injuries take place. They're holding back J.J. McCarthy from an injuries perspective, not getting as many reps. But they're clearly in the veteran quarterback market, it feels like, from everything we've heard. And I also heard some people around the combine say that, they've talked to people at the Minnesota. This is not Minnesota Vikings people saying this, but talk to people at Minnesota Vikings after the season goes. And they're almost like, it was almost disrespectful to Ball to just move on from a quarterback that wins 14 games. Just almost disrespectful to the NFL. So this guy wins 14 games in the NFL, and you say, we can kind of move on. There was like a narrative that that decision in of itself for Minnesota was one that maybe karma was going to work against them, just because of it's hard to win 14 games. Yep. And I think their fan base saw them win 14 games. Yeah. So now they're in a sense of urgency to get right back there as soon as possible, Debo.
Yeah, and a lot of people felt like that when they made the decision to move on. But as a coach, as a front office, as an ownership group, you got to make that decision, whether it's firing a coach who's a Schottenheimer or Chargers went 14 games, and then they let him go because they just felt like it was time for a change. You drafted a guy in the first round. You obviously believed in him, so you turned that page. But a lot of us felt that way. And then there were other people on the other side who were like, hey, if they get J.J. McCarthy, he does this, they'll be right back in that situation. But we know how
better.
Yeah, exactly. So we know how fleeting success in this league can be. Whether it's going on a deep playoff run or getting to a Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl, that staff, that team, everything is different year in and year out. So it was a tough decision, and it's why they get paid the big bucks.